Hello everybody, December 16th, I hope everyone's having an awesome day today. Today we do some light back and biceps and forearms. Started with a superset. I did dumbbell incline curls. Started with 15 for 25 reps. Went to 20 for 25 reps, 30 for 2 sets of 15. And I did them with lat prayers. I did on them 2 sets with 20 pounds for 25 reps, and then 2 sets with 30 pounds for 25 reps. Just real light, get some blood into the lats. Then after that, I did dumbbell hammer curls. I did 20-pound dumbbells, I don't know how many reps, 25-pound dumbbells, not sure how many reps, and 30-pound dumbbells. I wasn't sure how many reps. Then I supersetted them with dumbbell rows. I actually did 6 sets of dumbbell rows, but the other 3 sets came with the reverse curls. And on the reverse curls, I did 15 pounds for, I'm not sure how many reps, just as many as I could do, 20 pounds for the same, and 25 for the same. And most of these are fast forward just to save time. Then we went to wrist dumbbell extensions for 4 sets of as many as I could do with 10 pounds, and wrist curls supersetted with them, 25 pounds for 4 sets of as many reps as I could do. Then today I also had an update on my rant from yesterday. I found out that the arm wrestling match with the guy that was already saying that he lost before it even started has been canceled. So it sounds like a lot of people thought like I did, that he wasn't even want to buy it or watch it if he's already had lost. And after now, I thought I'd tell you, I was looking for something else to rant about, but I really didn't see anything. So I thought I'd just give you a funny story about how I accidentally hit the commanding general in Iraq with a pee bottle. But here it goes. I guess the best place to start the story with is how me and the driver wound up as me, the gunner for the personal gunner for the command general's vehicle, and the driver, the personal chauffeur, I guess, for the general. But we had started out in the same infantry brigade together in the 127, but then we were supposed to all deploy with 127, and then the division was going to go later, but the division said they needed some guys to be on a personal security details, such as the general and some other high up people, but they would leave later on because the 127 was leaving about 2 months before them and then them. So they put me on it because my youngest daughter was about to be born and I wasn't going to be there to see her if we would deploy with the other people. So the 2 months later, it helped me out a lot. But instead of going to them, you just deploy with the actual 25th Infantry Division. The same everything pretty much. And then the driver, he got on it because he wasn't quite 18 yet. He was only 17. And to go to Iraq, you have to be 18. You can join the military and go through boot camp and everything at 17. But you can't actually deploy till you're 18. So he needed to wait for that. So now 127, they've already deployed, and me and the driver, we're with the security detail now and practicing driving and all of that stuff. And the driver, he thinks he's going to get out of it by telling me that he doesn't know how to drive. And I was like, oh, well, that's no problem. They'll just teach you how to drive. And he really didn't know how to drive. He was from New York, and I guess he never drove, but no problem. Army just teach him how to drive an up-armored Humvee there with me hanging out of the turret. You know, whatever they need you to do, you're going to do. It don't matter if you know how to do it or not. They'll teach you how. as we're training, though, I remember the lieutenant told the driver that he reminded him of the guy off of the Fight Club, not Brad Pitt, but the other one. I think his name's Edward Norton or something. So you can just call him the Fight Club Edward Norton guy. That's what he looked like. I couldn't get that out of my head after the lieutenant called him that one time. But anyhow, we got all trained up and he knew how to drive and everything. And off we went to Iraq. And we got there and we've been there a couple months before this time. Maybe longer, maybe 3 or 4 months. And then nothing had changed. He's still my driver. And he was kind of... he'd get real excited easy, and I was kind of not excitable, so we worked good together. But we had this mission. It wasn't. We was on Camp Victory, and we didn't have to go far for it. We just had to take the general and his entourage outside of the wire to the sheik's house or compound, whatever it was. It seemed like a house, but a compound, and it was only a couple miles outside of Victory. So not a real long ways, but they also would have me before the missions. I'd have to give the mission briefing a lot of times to the other vehicles of what was going to go on and all that. Since I was the NCO with the fewest, I was the lowest ranking NCO out of all the personal protection guys there. So I got all the good jobs. But I went in off of this particular mission to get the routes and what to look out for and all that stuff so I could give my briefing. But there is going up through a whole lot of other stuff like that we never did, like getting overwatch from helicopters and a lot of stuff. I was figuring there must be more going on than I know about, but whatever. That's above my pay grade. I just get what I need and tell everybody, and then we'll go. But anyhow, we finally got all of that done, and we're going out on the mission. We've got the general and everybody in the vehicles, and off we go to their meeting. But as you're going, you can hear the helicopters rumbling up in the air. They had to overwatch and everything. They was worried something was going to go on, but I didn't quite know what, because none of the routes was black or anything like that. But however, they don't tell everything to everybody. But so we get there, and the thing I remember about when we got there was funny. It was me and the Fight Club Edward Norton in the vehicle, and then of course the general was in there, and his captain. They always have a captain with them that takes care of all their stuff. I really don't even know what his job is, but there's always one of them. So in our vehicle we have them two, me in the gunner tower, then the Fight Club Edward Norton, and our platoon sergeant was the vehicle commander that day. So he stayed in the vehicle after the general and his captain got out to go meet with the sheik. I think it was a sheik. But so we're outside, and all of a sudden the general's security guard called and said, "Make those choppers stop. You don't want to hear them." For some reason, they didn't want to hear the choppers rumbling outside. So the platoon sergeant, he's trying to get him to do it, and he's trying to call the helicopters directly, but it's not working. So he's trying to call the headquarters to radio them to pull further back because they don't want to hear the helicopters hovering. And after about 15 minutes, nothing happened, and the guy called back, and he's irritated now. So our platoon sergeant, he's really getting worried, irritated, and mad. But me and Fight Club, there, we're just doing our own thing, paying attention to what's going on with everybody walking around us, And so, but finally, you couldn't hear the choppers hover no more, and all that was good. And this took a long time, this meeting. I bet we were there for 4 or 5 hours. So you can't leave your vehicle. And if you've ever been in a turret, in Iraq in the middle of the heat for 5 hours. It gets really hot. You have to drink a lot of water. You feel like a baked potato up in there. So I had to pee, but you couldn't go nowhere, so you had to stay in your vehicle. That's just how it is. So I peed into a bottle and just kept it up there with me, so I'd throw it away later. But after the 4 hours was over, and everybody re-upped and got in the vehicles, and we were going back to Camp Liberty. We were going, we took off and we went for a while. We went around this one really tight curve, and he went real fast. And if you've ever been in an up-armored Humvee, even the turret weighs like 2,000 pounds. So they're really top-heavy. The thing rolled way over, and there goes my bottle. It goes rolling, and I went to grab it. Instead of grabbing, I hit it. I was like, oh no. And I could see it just go flying down into the turret hole. And on my right side was sitting the general. He's just sitting there, and there goes my bottle. I was like, oh no, I couldn't catch it. And just whacks him right in the leg and flips over his leg and lands between his legs. I'm like, oh no. Damn Fight Club guy got me in trouble. But I was expecting him to say something or do something, but you could tell he knowed because he looked at it, but he never said nothing. And we got back to Camp Liberty, or his Victory. They're kind of the same. I can't remember which one we dropped him on, but we got back there and he thanked us for his help and walked off. So I got away with one there. But that's my story. Thank you for listening and have a good day, everybody.
Welcome to the Playback Program. We're glad that you're here. You know, I don't want to get into the mix with everybody in personalities. My goal is to make things about right and wrong, and not about personalities. But I do want to spend just a second on President Trump's post yesterday about Rob Ryan. It can be sad. It can be really sad. Because I like this. And he doesn't help himself when he does things like this. And this is, but I think he understands this in a different way. You know, the president has said, you know, all kinds of things about me. Times when I disagree with him, he's just a failing fat flop or whatever. And that's his thing. That's just the way he does. When he is in a fight, he's a knife fighter. And I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. This was different. And this was, you know, you can say a lot of stuff politically about Rob Reiner, but politics didn't matter yesterday. I mean, this didn't matter. It didn't matter. But I think to the president, it does. I saw a change in the president. I've seen two changes in the president. I've seen a change in him when they started going after him and his family after 2020. And they really started going after his family. And we know this because we showed you the documents. But they had a plan. Take him down, take his family down, to stop MAGA at all costs. Put them in jail. I mean, those are their words. It's frightening to read. And I talked to the president, I don't know, maybe 6 months after we were in 2021, maybe 6 months, 8 months. And I said, I hope not. And he talked a little bit about, you know, how he felt like they really let people down because he had things going in the right direction. And now, look at it, and look how screwed up things are, and how the economy is going to be damn near impossible to fix. It'll take us time, but we can fix it, but they just destroy it. And I said, how are you person? How are you holding up? And this is the first thing I said. He's something.
And I enjoyed the high ground that we had there.
Yeah, I get to.
And it's difficult to make the argument that we have the high ground when, you know, the president of the Republican Party, the Republican president of the United States, the most high-profile person on quote-unquote our side, whatever that means these days, is a guy who, you know, kind of did some of the things that they did. So I don't like that. I understand it's part of Donald Trump, and I think if we're all adults here, we're able to kind of price that in and judge him on everything that he's doing. And when I mean pricing in it, I think that's a negative part of him. But overall, you have to take everything into context.
Right, and if we're all adults here, we should be able to say to those that we love and respect, bad move. I didn't like that. Don't do that. And I think, you know, because the left was, well, you never take on your own. Yes, we do. We take on our own all the time. All the time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that we say, didn't like that, thought it was a bad move, didn't look good, just wasn't right. I wish, and again though, I am not excusing it, but I am tempering it with, none of us have gone through what he has gone through.
So
with his
true.
family,
Mm-hmm.
somebody shooting at him, being called fascist Hitler all the time. I mean, that wears on you and changes you. And, you know, he's having a hard time forgetting that. And I kind of understand that. I wish he would take that on and take on the forgiveness so he could be more a peacemaker in all of those things, but that is his own personal journey.
Yeah, and when you talk about like a terrible crime that's occurred, like, I don't know if there was, you think about some awful situation, and at times he'll see family members say the worst possible thing. If your kid is murdered and by someone of a particular area or group or whatever, and they might react with just an awful thing about that group or area, and like we all have like an understanding, right, of a person going through a massively emotional thing, and lashing out. The example you bring up all the time, Len, of the ultimate example of being able to have restraint was the Amish situation from years ago, where you were talking about mass murder, and they were to the family's house that night, right, and saying,
Within an hour, the kids were not even out of the school yet. Their bodies were still laying in the school. And like, oh my gosh, the killer is dead too. He's a member of our community. His wife lives here. Right? What is she feeling? She's feeling completely alone. Oh my gosh, what? So, I couldn't do that. Right? Like, I don't even think I come close to that standard in that moment. No, but I like to. That's the range, right? Some people act really well, and some people act really poorly. And I think we all understand the emotion and everything that takes over a situation like that. And that has to be factored in, I think, to Trump. Now, of course, Rob Reiner wasn't responsible for the shooting. He's just a liberal who said really bad things about Donald Trump. And look, he is a very unique person in a very unique situation that I don't think anyone in the world has ever experienced. What has happened with him in his life. May I just say that you still haven't forgiven RFK Jr. What he said about me? Okay, I said I'm not.